All right, we are live and going live in all the places. So it is Kitty Chambliss here of Loving Without Boundaries, and I am accompanied by our amazing Coach B, who is a beautiful part of our team here serving our wider community at Loving Without Boundaries. So if you're seeing us for the first time, hello, we're excited to be here with you. If you are seeking community and you are not a part of our world, feel free to find our private community on Facebook by doing a search for Loving Without Boundaries, Healthy Open Relationships, and Lifestyle Freedom. And also, you can check out our podcast at my website, lovingwithoutboundaries.com, or you can sign up for our newsletter and just hear about all our different upcoming events, including local events. And we are excited to be here with a beautiful topic that B would like to get us started on, called Regaining Trust, Finding Solid Ground Again, which is a really important topic for anybody, no matter what type of relationship structure you're in. But certainly when we are talking about multiple relating, it can get tricky, it can get complicated, and we can use all the tools and guidance and wisdom that we can get. So I'm really excited to be able to talk about this topic, and I'd like to give the mic over to you, B, to get us started.
Thank you, Kiri. Happy Tuesday, everyone. So yeah, today's topic is around trust and how do we find our ground again, like really solidly. How do we bounce back? Because navigating the regaining or rebuilding of trust in any type of relationships, as Kitty pointed it out, can be a very delicate and complex process. So breaching of trust is like really easy. It can happen in an unexpected moment, but rebuilding that can take some time and some skill set. And I want to highlight that it's something that will look different in any type of situation. Whether the breaching of trust is starts on a scale from, for example, you want to share something with your partner, you're really excited, and they're misattuned in the moment, and they like can't be fully present, and it feels like a sort of you're navigating this on your own, or maybe it feels like you're being rejected in the moment. That can feel like a breach of trust. And the other end of the spectrum can be, for example, something really big comes to the surface. Let it be cheating or some other type of things that you didn't know about, and you just find that maybe 20 years into the relationship. So whatever you're navigating, what can be really helpful in bouncing back and regaining trust in yourself and in the world and relationships or your partner boils really much down into building a skill set that can include giving grace for yourself and for other people, taking perspectives, leaning into curiosity, discovering vulnerability, what needs and values or boundaries might be pushed against, developing a resilience, like bouncing back emotionally, which can look like emotional regulation in the moment so that you don't get stuck in the intensity of the emotions, and also having that skill set as well that helps you understand the messages of the emotions. And of course, effective communication is also very important when we're talking about regaining trust, because it can include lots of negotiations with other people and really leaning into a space of vulnerability, of sharing what's going on inside us and how might repair look like. So with that, I would like to give one definition of trust out of the many definitions that might be available. One is consistency and transparency over time. And I also encourage you to possibly create your own definition of trust if you think that this could help. I created my own definition of trust, which is like an A4 long page, so it's quite detailed. And why it can help if you have your own definition with crystal clear clarity is when you have new people in your life and you start talking about boundaries and expectations and what your vision for the future is. This is one thing that you can discuss, like, this thing is what trust means to me. This is how it looks like on a daily basis. And this is how it looks like for me when I experience a breach of trust. And what it can help with is not only getting to know each other in a new relationship, but also when you experience like, I lost trust in this person, in this situation for the moment, what is going on. But if you already have that definition for yourself, then you can refer back to that clarity and go to your own checklist. Like, I'm wondering whether something on my previous definition of trust got breached or pushed against, or is that something new? And once you have that clarity, it helps you regain your balance more quickly, because you can apply the right strategy. Like we keep talking about, like, transformation happens in the specific, not the general. So, for example, to give you one point from my definition of trust is I trust the other person if they consistently show to me that we can have calm and respectful conversations, even in the midst of misunderstandings. So to me, that belongs to the definition of trust in others. And I can check back on my list if I get triggered. Oh, I'm wondering whether this was being pushed against. And I also created my definition of trust for myself. Like, when is it when I trust myself? And it's very similar. So even if there are disagreements or if I get triggered, I trust myself that I can step back a little bit, and I can then lean into respectful, needs-based conversations. So this can help with your own clarity, and also resolving conflicts faster and better if you have your own definition.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that, B. That was really powerful, and I love that definition too. Can we have calm and respectful conversations? And there's some different things that are going on in my life, and that is something that has been coming up, is losing trust because of not being able to have calm and respectful conversations. So I think that's really powerful to have your own definition, partly based on your own life experience. And I love the one that you shared that I learned, and I think you did as well, from Shadeen Francis, a dear friend of mine, about trust can partly be one definition is transparency plus consistency over time. Another one is when we're getting our needs met, that can be related to trust. A new one that I heard that I want to share that I think is also quite powerful that folks can try on for size. A colleague of mine calls it the trust triangle. And I'll explain it more, but the quick formula is honesty plus empathy plus good judgment. So honesty meaning simply, can I see the real you? Like, honesty, I'm almost thinking of here is almost like more authenticity. Like, I feel safe enough to show you the real me, and you feel safe enough to show me the real you. And then empathy, do I think that you care about me? Like, or do you have my best interests at heart? That can develop trust. And then the last one is good judgment. Do you make wise decisions? And that one really resonates with me as well, because that's something that has come up in my life. I sometimes think about in terms of like, do I respect you? And to me, that's kind of related to good judgment. But I see how it can really play into trust as well. Like, do you make wise decisions? Because the decisions that you make, your behavior, your actions will absolutely affect me, right? Especially when we're talking about consensual non-monogamy. And I think that can get confusing to some people sometimes, with the idea of, your feelings or your responsibility, that we hear that a lot. But and kind of a denial of, we can have great intentions, but there is an impact of our behavior on other people that can cause hurt or pain, and so not having accountability around that can definitely hurt trust, so I think that's a nice piece to remember is, does this other person, do you think they have good judgment? Do they make wise decisions? So I'll just share that again, the trust triangle: honesty, can I see the real you, plus empathy, do I think you care about me, plus good judgment, do you make wise decisions, can really, and typically if somebody isn't giving you trust, it may be because one or two of those areas out of the three are either completely missing or just very critically low. If you think of like a tank of gas, like it's low on gas. So I thought that was really interesting. And I know, B, you're hearing that for the first time. I only heard it a couple of weeks ago. And it's actually somebody I want to have on the podcast so that they can expand on that, because I thought it was really quite interesting. And I love what you were saying, B, just in terms of it's also important to define for yourself what trust means to you, and then compare notes with your loved ones, the people in your life, because your definition might be different than their definition, and that's okay. They don't all have to line up, but you can have as you said, a calm and respectful conversation about that, and that can be very telling about the health of that dynamic between you and this other person, which is evolving and changing over time. So I'll go ahead and give the mic back over to you, B.
Yeah, I really love this definition that you gave us. I took notes quickly, and I definitely want to ask more about this. So I really appreciate that you shared it. And yeah, it's also such an important distinction that we can have like the best intentions in wanting to regain trust, and the impact might be quite different. So there are some landmines that we want to avoid that can get in the way of regaining trust, either self-trust or trust with other people. And one thing that can happen, that despite our best intentions, we might stay stuck in what we call at Loving Without Boundaries a field of battle. So coming from a place of being defensive, judgmental, confrontative, blaming the other person, being caught up on those areas where we absolutely disagree, and not focusing at all on the areas like how we appreciate each other, what we love about each other, where we can agree in the moment, and maybe also being caught up in what's also called like the revenge fantasy, like wanting to punish the other person because there's some conflict or I experience a breach of trust and I want to get back at them. So unfortunately, sometimes we're not able, when we're on the field of battle, even if we want some resolutions, the emotions, the intensity of the emotions get in the way. We experience our emotions as truth of the situation or truth of the intention of the other person. So for example, because I feel rejected, or I feel a sense of humiliation or being judged, that means that I'm being judged, then I'm being criticized, I'm feeling being rejected. And that can get in the way of separating what's done, what happened, and what needs to happen moving forward, so that we can rebuild trust with each other. And also, there's some other aspect if we're on so not on the receiving end, but for example, we did something like we broke an agreement, or in some way we breached the trust of the other person, and our guilt and shame can get in the way of coming to the field of understanding. So even with the best intention, that can hinder us in co-creating something beautiful and moving forward, and understanding that we might have to let go of the old relationship and build something new, like with a new foundation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really beautiful. Thank you for sharing all of that, and I couldn't agree more. And including building trust with yourself, like building your own intuition again, which can also be working on your own healthy boundaries. And one way to work on that is through meditation and mindfulness, and just really tuning into your body and listening to your feelings and trusting them. We often talk about how our feelings are messengers. They're giving you valuable information. So if something doesn't feel quite right, or you don't feel safe, safety and trust really go hand in hand in a way. To tune into that and journal and ask self-reflective questions, or work with a professional or with a coach or a trusted friend, right? To really get to the bottom of where that's going. So, and then you can also make a decision. We talked about, B, you mentioned getting stuck in the field of battle. You can also make a decision of, hey, instead of the field of battle, what do I want? How do I get on the field of understanding or of non-judgment, where you're with somebody that you have developed some trust with, where you're talking about your positive needs instead of kind of throwing little daggers at each other, little grenades, which puts us onto the field of battle. So I really love this conversation. I'd love to just start to bring it around to, well, what do you do about all this, right? So we've talked about some of that, but you absolutely can learn tools and strategies and build a supportive network around you to learn how to build your emotional regulation, listen to your emotions as trusted advisors, trusted messengers that are giving you really valuable information, sometimes working with a coach to be able to take a look at more the big picture and do some self-reflection work to get more connected into your values. Your values are what make you tick, what drives you, what fuels you to make the decisions that you're making. And we can have conscious-based values or fear-based values. And that's some of the work that we work with our clients on. And you absolutely can learn skills to learn how to have those calm, respectful conversations about your feelings and about your positive, life affirming, and beautiful needs in a way where you're really learning to see each other's perspective, where you're building trust, where you're building intimacy and connection. And that's what Bea and I eat for breakfast and do with our clients on a day-to-day basis. And of course, in our own lives, sometimes making really tough decisions in our own lives in order to have healthy boundaries and in order to have self-respect, a sense of self-worth, and do that fine work. Because let's face it, we all have different traumas and things that we need to heal from. And that healing work starts with you, and you drawing a line in the sand and saying, this is it. I know that this work is my work to do. It's my responsibility. My happiness is also my responsibility. And that's, once you make that kind of commitment to yourself, everything can start to shift after that. So if any of this is resonating with you, and of course, I want to give you the mic back in a moment to Bea. I just want to make sure that people know that they can reach out for help if they want it. So if you want to have a conversation about how to rebuild trust, starting with you from the inside out, we can have that conversation. And you can go to this link, lovingwithoutboundaries.com/apply. And all that does is just simply take you into my calendar, pick a time that works for you. There'll be a very brief intake form to see if we're lined up to potentially work together so that I can get to know you and your situation a little bit better. And then we'll simply jump on that call and just have an honest conversation about what you're struggling with, where you want to go. And if we're a fit, we can talk about different ways to work together to move forward to do that. If the timing isn't right or we're not a fit to work together, you have my word that I will let you know that, and I will do my best to steer you in the best direction for you based on what we uncover and talk about on that call. My Rolodex is big. I've had 260 people on my podcast. I know a lot of different people that I can point you to if we're not a match, and that's okay. I want to make sure that you get the support that you need. So again, that's lovingwithoutboundaries.com/apply. So I want to give the mic back over to you, Bea, so that you can round up the call, the stream here with us.
Thanks, Kitty. I really love those foundational skill set that you listed that not only help rebuilding trust with other people, but also starting in ourselves, because that's so important to have that, to lean into like warrior aligned relationships on the long term and to make that decisions, because sometimes it can be like, why am I keep putting out fires like an ongoing basis where trust is breached here and then there and then there, and then I've noticed that my life and energy and effort is really taken up by putting out these breaches of trust. And then there might be a time when I want to rebuild that trust within myself so that I can create that inside out transformation in my life, and maybe I have to make some decisions around my standards or who I let into my life or what type of relationships dynamic let into. So the skills that you mentioned, like emotional regulations, creating value-based decisions, asking like really powerful, empowering questions, and having effective communication skills are so important to building both inner trust and external trust as well. And as always, I want to give a few self-reflective questions to help with this particular work. So question number 1, we talked about definitions of trust. So if it resonates with you, how do you define trust in yourself and others? Question number 2, when trust is breached, What might help you release intense emotions and explore the needs and values behind them? So what might you help in the moment to maybe dance it out, move it out, swim it out, whatever works for you? And then what could help get what's going on underneath at the deeper layers, so you have your own clarity that can be a foundation of rebuilding trust. Question number 3, what is your ideal outcome in regaining or rebuilding trust, and what would be a good enough outcome that it's still an acceptable outcome in your relationships? Question number 4, what are your next best steps to rebuild trust and or find closure in a way that reflects your values and the kind of relationship that you want moving forward?
Beautiful. Love those questions, B. You have such a brilliant mind and you're an amazing, outstanding coach. And I am deeply, deeply honored to have you as a part of our team supporting this incredible community of courageous humans. Because let's face it, you really got to be courageous to be living in the world today and coloring outside of the lines of traditional heteronormative monogamy and being your most authentic self. So we honor you. We see you. We are here to support you. We deeply care about you and your well-being and your happiness. And B, thank you for being a part of our team who is also supporting this beautiful community here. So with that, again, if you are looking for a community, feel free to find us on Facebook. Our private group is Loving Without Boundaries, Healthy Open Relationships and Lifestyle Freedom. You can listen to our podcast, award-winning podcast, Loving Without Boundaries, 260 episodes strong and going. And you can also follow us on various places on social media or get on our mailing list if you want to be part of our newsletter and hear about all the different things that we are doing to support this community. So B, thank you so much for your time and your attention and your grace and your wisdom. And thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Bye.